Hey, sweet humans, happy Wednesday. I wanted to come live and talk to you about two parenting tools that keep coming up in my practice. Um, there you are. Okay, so about these two parenting tools that keep coming up in my practice when I talk with parents, and those two tools are creative stupidity. Um, well, let's talk about creative stupidity first, right? Okay, so creative stupidity is the idea that you are going to just play along. You don't know what the answer is. Let's talk about an example because I think that's the thing that will most kind of clarify how you might use this tool. So let's imagine that you've got a kid who is supposed to be studying and doing their work, and then they fail a test. Maybe they're doing TikTok. And so they fail their test. And instead of getting mad at them, I want you to use this principle that I like to call be curious, not furious. So be curious, not furious. And when you do this, you're going to use creative stupidity to wonder with them. This is especially true for big kids who you really want to be problem solving with you. To wonder with them, what could we do differently next time? So you might say, you failed your test. Yeah. Were you thinking that like you didn't need to study and you'd still pass it? And probably not with that tone, right? A little bit softer. Were you thinking like you didn't really need to study for it or okay, so that you get them sort of talking like, And then if they say, yes, I did study, maybe you're gonna say, tell me how you studied. So you're trying to sort of get to the bottom with no judgment. That's really, really important. And especially for our kids who are older, creative stupidity is really a tool that will help them to kind of foster their own learning and their own decision making and problem solving skills. And you can also use creative stupidity with little ones. So let's talk about what that would look like. Let's imagine that your, say, 6-year-old is really wants something that you don't have. Let's say purple popsicle. Okay, so they're just asking you, let me have a purple popsicle, let me have a purple popsicle, let me have it. And you're like, I don't have any purple popsicles. So instead of getting into the battle with them where you try to explain, like, I don't have that, maybe next time I go to the store or whatever, I want you instead to just say, let's check. Okay, so you know that you don't have the thing. So let's check. I don't know. Do you think there might be a purple popsicle? And here's where you get to use humor. There might be a purple popsicle under the chair. What about in the carrot drawer? Do you think there's a purple popsicle in the freezer? Let's check. So you can open the freezer and look, there's going to be no purple popsicle, okay? So then what happens is that the child is learning that like actually they can't have the thing and you're not the bearer of the bad news, right? They get to just have this experience. They're like, oh, this actually doesn't really work. Now, if they discover there's no purple popsicle, then you get to teach, like, you get to feel resigned. Oh, you can make it big, especially if you've got a little one. Wow, what are we going to do? Okay, so here's another way to use creative stupidity and humor with your big kids. So remember, these are two tools that you're using in order to foster decision making. You're using them in order to help kids problem solve. And they sort of hold, more than anything, they hold the relationship sacred, right? So that's kind of the thing that we want to prioritize more than anything else, is that making sure that your relationship with your kid, whether they're 2 or 12 or 22, is the most sacred piece. Okay, so let's say, and this actually really happened to a friend of mine. Let's say your 14-year-old, you get into a fight with her or him, and then they say, I'm going to put you in a horrible convalescent home. Or let's see what kind of convalescent home that gets you into, or something like that. Okay, so oftentimes our instinct is to like meet that, like, what are you doing? Why would you even say that? Right? But instead, I want you just to bring some humor to it. Like, wow, I better back up and do something different because that sounded bad, right? So you're really keeping it light to bring a little bit of humor and lightness to the conversation so that you're not engaging in a battle. Like, what I really want for you is to get off the battleground, like get out of the battle, so that you can save the relationship and you can deal, when you're not on the battleground, you can deal with any of these upsets. Okay, so what are some other things that we talked about? Okay, we talked about the test, we talked about finding things, we talked about sort of teenagers saying provocative things. And excuse me. What I want to communicate to you here is that in all of these situations, lightness and humor is the way to your child's heart. So oftentimes what happens is that we become very, very stressed, and then it's hard to be light and funny. So take a deep breath and see where you can get yourself so that you can just keep it light and bright. Now, of course, you're not always going to be able to do this, but when you can, it's going to go a long ways towards really supporting and nurturing the relationship, right? So just really focusing on that, letting them discover if there's something they have. Hey, Erin, yeah. So let's check is a great one, right? So that's a great way to do creative stupidity with a little one. Let's check. It could also be like they can't find a toy that they're missing. So then it's like, I want my stuffed puppy. And you just can't find it. So, okay, like let's look. Where do you think we could look? And then you don't have to solve it, right? You just get to be in it with your kid, not solving it, just checking and bringing humor. So try to extrapolate yourself when it's like high tension and bring some humor. And when you're with a littler one, or when you're with a child who is older, who's like maybe in a school trouble, not solving it for them, but offering some humor and then some space. So like, what were you thinking? I don't know. Did it work? So you didn't study for your test, and then what happened? Oh, you failed. How do you feel about the failing? What do you want to do? Like, you want to study differently later? And you may offer some suggestions, like maybe we'll go over flashcards 3 days before the test. Or maybe we could reach out to a friend and you could study with a friend, right? Or we could reach out to your teacher and you can get a little tutoring help, whatever it is. But I don't want you to really enforce any of those suggestions. I want the young person or the kid or the teenager or the child to really be able to come upon those themselves. And of course, for smaller kids, you can do this in smaller ways. Right? So same principle whether you're with a really little one or a really big one. But of course, the context and the bigness of the issue is going to be bigger for an older child or a teenager than it is for a 2 or 6 or 7-year-old. So that is creative stupidity and humor. I hope that you really use them. Know that humor is the way to your child's heart. And I encourage you to give it a shot. Let us know how it goes. See you in the group if you're not already there. Take good care.